Okay, friends, we are starting on Chapter 10, Lesson 2. We are still talking about time, and if you took last week off for break, then it's been a little while since we talked about the clock. So I'm going to review a little bit, and we're going to talk about word problems today, but basically we are using half an hour, what we call increments or time frames. And so I didn't have a clock with me last week, and I'm going to try and make it happen this week with a clock. So let's go. Okay, so when we look at the clock, this is what we call an analog clock. And we talk about the time moving mostly in 5-minute increments. So each tick, each little tick of this clock is equal to 1 minute. So this is from the top of the clock to the number 1 is 5 minutes. And as we go along the clock, we basically skip count by 5. So if this were 3 o'clock, this would be 3:05, right? 3:10, you can see a little 10 there. 3:15, 3:20, 3:25, 3:30. And we basically moved halfway around the clock, and the whole clock, as this minute hand moves all the way around, is 1 hour. So when we say half an hour, we say it's moved halfway around the clock, or 30 minutes. Now I want you to notice something that I wasn't able to show you on our past lessons because I didn't have this clock. But do you notice that the hour hand, that small hand, is no longer exactly on the 3? So let's go back. I'm going to go back in time to 3 o'clock. Look at my hour hand. It's exactly on the 3. But as the minute hand moves around the clock, the hour hand moves with it. And so now, since we're halfway around the clock, or we've gone a half an hour, remember when I told you that the hour hand would change and it would move between the 3 and the 4 as the time moved around? That's exactly what's happening. And I know that in our homes, we probably don't have a whole lot of analog clocks. Mostly they're digital. But we do need to know how to read the clock. So the time on this clock is 3. The hour is 3. This is how we write that, remember? 30. Or half past. Sometimes they'll say half past 3. Remember how we write o'clock? No minutes, right? Okay, so let's go back to page 605 and let's look at our problem. Okay, on the top of page 605, we have our problem. The buses leave in order every half an hour. Bus 1 leaves at 9:30. So they've given us bus 1 down here. Bus 2 leaves at 10 o'clock. There's bus 2. They would like to know what time do buses 3 and 4 leave. Okay, so our strategy for this section is to find the pattern. So remember how we start out. We always do our step 1, our step 2, and our step 3. So the first step to understanding is underlining what we know. We know that bus 1 leaves at 9:30, and we know that bus 2 leaves at 10 o'clock. Okay? We are going to circle what we need to find. What are they asking us? They would like to know what time do buses 3 and 4 leave. Okay, our step 2 is to plan how we will solve the problem. Now, since we know, if we go back to our strategy is find the pattern. Is there anything in this problem that gives us a clue as to what the pattern might be? So let's read the question over again. The buses leave in order every half an hour. So every half an hour. So bus 1 leaves at 9:30, bus 2 leaves at 10 o'clock. Okay, let's look at our clock. If we remember what our problem says, it's in front of you. It says that bus 1 leaves at 9:30. So I have 9 o'clock on my clock. I'm going to turn it to 9:30. Remember, halfway around the clock. Whoops. This is what time bus 1 leaves. It says bus 2 leaves a half an hour later at 10 o'clock. So I'm going to move a half an hour again around my clock. And that's 10 o'clock. See, my hour hand is on the 10 and my minute hand is straight up on the 12. Now, if we know that each bus leaves every half an hour, the next bus is going to leave in a half an hour. So let's go halfway around our clock to give us a half an hour. And now our hour is still 10 o'clock. Remember, because our hour hand is between the 10 and 11, so it's still 10 o'clock. But now we've gone halfway around, and so now we can say it's 10:30. So bus 3 leaves at 10:30. Whoops. I'm going to put a 3 right here so we know that's bus 3. Now if we continue with the half an hour pattern, we know that bus 4 is going to leave in a half an hour. So let's go halfway around our clock again. And now what time is it? 11 o'clock. Our hour hand is now on the 11 and our minute hand is straight up on the 12, which means it's 11 o'clock. So bus 4 leaves at 11 o'clock. Okay, turn with me to page 606 and let's read our question together. Each class at school will go to recess 30 minutes after the other. The first class goes to recess at 1 o'clock. What time will the fourth class go? So the first thing we need to do in understanding our problem is underline what we know. So let's do that. We know that the first class goes to recess at 1 o'clock. Now remember, our strategy is finding the pattern. So if we go back and read our problem, they've given us the pattern. It says each class at school will go to recess 30 minutes after the other. Let's circle what they're asking us to find. They're wanting to know what time will the fourth class go. So if we know that the first class leaves at 1 o'clock, we can write 1 o'clock under class 1, right there. Okay, we know that each class is going to leave 30 minutes after the other one. So let's go to our clock. Okay, so we know that class 1 started at 1 o'clock. You should have written 1 o'clock on your paper. I'm going to write it right here. We know that each class at school will go to recess 30 minutes after the other. So from 1 o'clock, 30 minutes later, see my clock where that 30 is? That's half an hour. So we'd go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So a half an hour later would be, still the hour is 1 o'clock, 1:30. So write 1:30 on your paper. Okay, now we need to find out class 3. So we have to go another half an hour, and you can count with me. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Another halfway around the clock, and now it is 2 o'clock. So class 3 goes to recess at 2 o'clock. Okay, still need to find class 4. So let's count another half an hour or another 30 minutes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So class 4 goes to recess at 2:30. Okay, so what was our pattern? Our pattern was each 30 minutes. We started at 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, 2:30. Okay, let's turn to page 607 and let's use the strategy that we've been using on the rest of our math work. Okay, let's look at number 1. Let's read our problem first. In the morning, Mrs. White's students change activities every hour. Reading starts at 8:30, so So they've given us 8:30 down here. Her students go to 3 more activities. 1, 2, and 3. In fact, I'm gonna write 1 and 2 and 3 right there. Okay. Reading starts at 8:30. They have that. Her students go to 3 more activities. When do each of the activities start? All right, so part of understanding the problem first is underlining what we know. We know that Mrs. White's students change activities every hour, so I'm going to underline that. We also know that reading starts at 8:30, and they've given us that. I wrote that right there. Now we need to circle what they're asking us. They're asking us, when do each of the activities start? And we know we had 3. I've written down 1, 2, 3. So let's go back to our clock and look at what our pattern is. Okay, here's our clock. I have it set to 8:30, which we know is when the first class went to reading, 8:30. You should have underlined what our pattern was. It was every hour. So an hour, remember, is a whole way around the clock, or 60 minutes. So since we're starting here at 8:30, we need to go a whole hour, 60 minutes. So what we can do is we can skip count. So skip count with me. We can go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Because 1 hour is 60 minutes. Did you notice? I went all the way around. It ended up right back where I was. It was 1 time around the clock was an hour. So it's no longer 8:30. My hour hand has moved with me as my minute hand went around the clock. And we've moved to the next hour. The next hour after 8:30 would be 9:30. So I'm going to write 9:30 on the first line. Okay. Now we need to go to the next class. 1 hour around the clock again. So count with me again. 60 minutes. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. And I've gone all the way around the clock again. So now it's no longer 9:30. My hour hand has now moved between the 10 and 11, telling me that now it is 10:30. So we're going to write 10:30. Okay. Our last class. 1 more hour. So let's go 1 more time around the clock. This time I'm not going to count. I'm just going to go around the clock for 1 full turn, or 1 hour. We're going to end up right back here. Our hour hand moved along with our minutes as we went 1 hour around the clock. And we're no longer in the 10 o'clock hour. We're in the 11 o'clock hour. So now it is 11:30. So go ahead and write 11:30 on that last line. Okay, you should have written in your times 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, and 11:30. If you didn't do that, go back and do that right now. But I want you to notice that my minutes did not change, right? Because the activities happened every hour. So we went from 8:30 to 9:30. Minutes did not change. 9:30 to 10:30. Again, minutes did not change. The next hour, 10:30 to 11:30. So if you find the pattern, you don't necessarily need the clock to figure it out, right? You can learn the pattern and notice, okay, so it's every hour. So my minutes aren't changing, just my hour. So I don't need to worry about the minutes in this one. I just need to worry about changing the hours. Okay, let's look at number 2. Let's read it together. Students start work in learning stations at 10:30. After 2 hours, they go to recess. What time do students go to recess? Okay, so let's start with underlining what we know. We know that students start working in learning stations at 10:30. We know that after 2 hours, they go to recess. What are they asking us? They want to know, what time do students go to recess? So if we start at 10:30 and we're going 2 hours later, they go to recess. So do my minutes need to change? No, just my hour. So I need to go from 10:30 to the next hour is 11:30, but we need one more hour. Again, my minutes aren't going to change, just the hour. So from 11:30, the next hour, is 12:30. Okay, let's look at number 3. Let's read it together. In the afternoon, Mrs. White's students change activities every half hour. Math starts at 1 o'clock. Writing starts after math. What time will writing start? Okay, so the first thing we need to do is underline what we know. Let's go back and look. Mrs. White's students change activities every half an hour. That is going to be our pattern, every half an hour. Remember, half an hour is 30 minutes. We also know that math starts at 1 o'clock. Writing starts after math. Let's circle what they're asking us. What time will writing start? Okay, I'm going to see if I can't do a clock right here. Let's see, so this would be the 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So let's say we know math starts at 1 o'clock. So I'm going to do my hour is 1 o'clock. Mrs. White students change activities every half an hour. So half an hour, remember, is halfway around the clock, or 30 minutes. So we're going to end up right here. Does our hour change? No, because we didn't go a whole hour. We only went half of that hour. That means this, let me use a different color. That means my minute hand, this hand right here, is going to go around the clock for 30 minutes, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and is now going to be there. My new time, remember the hour did not change, is 1:30. So writing is going to start at 1:30. Okay, it's time to turn the page to 608 and let's do questions 4, 5, and 6. Let's review our strategy. We need to find the pattern, or you can either act it out at home or draw a picture. In this case, I'm going to try and draw a picture. If I need to, I will bring back my clock. So let's look at what number 4 is asking us. Let's read it together. Carmen has 8 shoes. She places an equal number of shoes in 2 suitcases. How many shoes will be in each suitcase? Okay, so the first thing we need to do is underline what we know. We know that Carmen has 8 shoes. Oops. We know that she places an equal number of shoes in 2 suitcases. Let's circle what they're asking us. How many shoes will be in each suitcase? Okay. So the way that I'm going to figure this one out is I'm going to draw it out. All right, I'm going to draw a picture. Carmen has 8 shoes. She's going to place them in 2 suitcases. So let's draw 2 suitcases. There's 1, and there's 2. So she has 8 shoes, and each one of these is going to have an equal amount of shoes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in this suitcase. I'm going to put a pair of shoes there, or one shoe there, and one shoe there. 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to keep adding shoes until I get to 8, and then I'm going to stop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's just as if you had some cookies and you were sharing with another friend. You would divide them out, right? And you would count until each of you had the equal amount. So now I can go back to my suitcases. I can count how many are in each. 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many shoes will be in each suitcase? 4 shoes. Okay, let's read number 5 together. A postcard cost 45 cents. Jason wants to buy 2 postcards. He has 2 quarters, 2 dimes, and 3 nickels. How much money does he have? Okay, so let's start by underlining what we know. Jason wants to buy 2 postcards. He has 2 quarters, 2 dimes, and 3 nickels. They're asking us, how much money does he have? So let's draw this out. If he has 2 quarters, I think I'm gonna go a little, let's do quarter. I'm gonna get 2 Q's for 2 quarters. He has 2 dimes, so I'm gonna put a D and a D, and 3 nickels. So nickel, nickel, nickel. Okay, now that we've drawn it all out, we can go back and we can count it. Now I put letters for my coins, but you can write, you can do 25 cents. You do it however it works for you. This is what works for me, and so I'm going to count it out this way. So remember, our quarters were worth 25 cents. So 2 quarters, remember, is 25 and 25, 50 cents, right? Dimes were worth 10. So now we're going to count by tens. We start at 50 because we counted our 2 quarters. 50, 60, 70. I'm going to write just a 70 just so I can keep track. Now our nickels, if you remember, are worth 5. So now I'm going to skip count by 5, starting at 70. So 70, 75, 80, 85. So how much money does he have? He has 85 cents. And that's how we write 85 cents. Now, does he have enough for 2 postcards? Well, we need to find out how much 2 postcards would cost us. If each postcard was 45 cents, I need to find out how much 2 postcards are. So I'm going to add 45 plus 45. So 5 plus 5, do our ones, regroup our tens. So 4 plus 4, that's a double fact, remember, 8 plus 1 more is 90. So 2 postcards are going to cost me 90 cents. Does Jason have enough? No, he only has 85 cents. So our next question asks, how many pennies does he need to buy the postcards? In order to find this out, I need to find out the difference. Remember, if we use the word difference, it means we're subtracting. So I'm going to take 90 cents because that's how much 2 postcards cost. He has 85 cents, and I'm going to find out the difference. I'm going to subtract. Now, if I subtract here, I start in my ones, right? Can I take 5 away from 0? Nope, so I have to go over my tens. I have to borrow a 10, or regrouping. I'm going to put my 10 in my ones. Now I could subtract 5. 10 minus 5 is 5. 8 minus 8 is 0. So 5 cents, which is 5 pennies. Okay, let's look at number 6. Read it with me. The subway arrives at the station on the hour and half hour. It is now 4:30. Kate's family is on the way, but it will take 1 hour to get there. What is the earliest time her family can get on the subway? The first thing we need to do is underline what we know. The subway arrives at the station on the hour and half an hour. Okay, it's now 4:30, so we know it's now 4:30. Kate's family is on the way, but it will take them 1 hour to get there. So it's 4:30. It's going to take them 1 hour to get to the station. So from 4:30, the next hour, my minutes don't change, we're just changing hours, is 5:30. Okay, so they get to the station at 5:30. So the next train that they can get on, or the earliest time our family can get on the subway, would be 5:30. Okay, at this point, I want you to go ahead and do your homework, page 609 and 610.